Draft pod, baby. We've digested it for a week. We're ready to recap it all. Broncos picks, our favorite picks, our most questionable picks, our favorite drafts, maybe our most questionable drafts. We're getting to it right now. Starting now. There you go.
Oh, Lord.
DNVR Draft Pod.
Who's doing it? Who's doing it?
Live
We're doing it.
from the Toyota Lounge. Yeah, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
In downtown Denver on the corner of Colfax and York, right above the DNVR bar, the mecca of DNVR sports, which soon, in just a matter of hours, will be popping and going off. You know Henry's ready. In fact, he's set himself up to do it all day. Jake, maybe less so. He may have just found out that the teams are playing because he's so locked in on buffs. We love him for it. We, of course, are driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Come on, come all in the Toyota chat. Leave us a thumbs up. We got the legend Alyssa Marie on the ones and twos. Our guy Riley Sorbo caught me outside. He was like, I'm sorry I'll miss you today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what's wrong with Riley?
I don't know.
He just had a conflict.
Oh, okay.
A different draft pod time.
Personal
Miss you, Riley.
conflict.
Yeah, I miss you, Riley, but we love having Alyssa. I, of course, am joined by my heroes, my companions of draft, my guys who are here year-round with me, and they're here to stream for hours on end during the draft, and they're here to happily recap it all a week later. God, I love you both so much.
Yep. Since well, can I have one?
The man, the myth, the legend, Henry Chisholm.
Oh, thank you.
The grizziest of grizzes.
This is the truthiest of truths right there.
Damn straight. What are the differences between Avs Maroon and Grizz Maroon?
Well,
Is it
Avs
burgundy?
are burgundy. So Grizzlies maroon, Avs burgundy. Can I use my one nonsense sidebar of the day right now?
Ooh, off the top.
Yeah, just right off the top because this is a good one.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it. What say you, Jake?
Absolutely.
We're
Okay.
also joined by the legendary, the Schwan man.
I mean, look, the draft is technically behind
It's
us.
true.
It is.
We
It's
have
true.
nothing
It
but
is.
time
It's true.
now.
We
It's
do
true.
get
We have months to talk about this, then
our
months to talk about the next
leniency
one.
on nonsense does grow exponentially post draft, and that's a glorious thing.
So the end of our Broncos show today, we did our weekly draft.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, and famously we drafted the great animal Hunger Games draft.
Right,
So you draft
right.
your 5 animals to take on all the other animals in like a Hunger Games. So 5v5v5, last live wins. So there's the poll on Twitter, and somebody just responded 6 minutes ago. And I love you, Bear Claw crew, whoever you are.
Of course, Bear Cocker.
You can tell none of these dudes have ever been outside of an urban concrete hellscape in their entire lives because none of them picked actual farm animals that are raised to eat nonstop. He thought we were drafting based on their hunger. Not based on the Hunger Games, based on how
picking
hungry,
out exotic meats.
whatever.
Oh, shit,
no,
that's
whichever
great.
animals are the most hungry,
Crazy.
which I saw and I can't believe.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
so
I'm giving
if
him
you
a
did
like.
grow up on a farm.
Yeah,
Which I don't know
from
about
northern Montana.
A farm, right?
notably.
Northern
Yeah,
Montana.
yeah,
though
farms everywhere.
Qualifies as not an urban jungle.
Certainly not
per
an urban
se.
concrete
I like that
hellscape.
guy.
Yeah,
What
they're
is-
raised to eat.
What is the hungriest animal that's being raised to eat?
Well, I mean, cows will eat nonstop. I think that's
pig?
probably the big one. Pigs too. I mean, eat like
Big
a pig.
eaters, huh?
Yeah, eat like a pig. You ever hear that?
I thought we were discriminating against how pigs looked. I didn't think that pigs
No.
were actually real hungry.
No, I mean
Honestly,
they earn that the way they
You know
look.
what? Henry might be right here. Because if you go by mass, the elephants probably just eat the
That
most.
was my thought. And then rhino too.
Did you double up? Did you get a rhino too? I thought Ryan got
Elephant.
I thought Rhino
no,
got Rhino.
we just called him the white rhino.
That's awesome.
Elephant,
one of
rhino,
his
tiger,
nicknames.
king cobra, and a cougar. Little stealth in
Wow.
there.
Wait, that's your team?
Venom, stealth, power, and tiger. I think the most dominant cat of any cat in this draft.
I didn't know you got Elephant and Rhino on the same team.
I mean, Tiger is king.
Yeah. Tiger King.
Tiger king.
Yeah.
Right.
Shout out to that
All
guy.
right. Well, I use my
Different, but,
nonsense
I don't know
card.
if we're shouting him out either. It might be problematic.
Shout out. Yeah.
I'm voting for you, Henry.
Thank you.
Good.
Somehow I'm losing
Good.
this.
Not Tiger King, however.
No, we would never vote for him.
yeah.
What is an inland taipan?
Imagine that. It is the most venomous snake. One bite could kill 100 humans. But see, I got the King Cobra,
Dang.
which has the power to kill an elephant in 3 to 4 hours. So I was worried somebody else was going to get the King Cobra because that's the biggest of the venomous snakes.
You just got to really hope for no friendly fire.
It's true.
Because
And-
if your cobra just by
Yeah.
mistake turned on your
that
elephant,
would be-
that's
what a way
like
to
the
go
one.
down.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
like the elephant's Achilles
We're
heel right
talking to
there.
Scotty about his bears. That's the bears move. Turn on each other. It's like, oh, there's the implosion. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Totally. Don't know how to hard transition out
So
of
yeah,
that.
the NFL
one.
draft.
The NFL draft. How we feeling a week later?
I feel great still.
Yeah.
I like this class.
I like this class. The only picks you could argue are the offensive skill positions, and I feel pretty comfortable saying like I'm not gonna be here and argue with Sean Payton about what skill players fit his system best.
Yep.
And then yeah, I mean it's been fun going through these other drafts. It's been fun hearing the rumors and stuff.
Always fun.
You know, the sliding doors, RJ Harvey being a target for the Jaguars, and the Broncos and Texans both trying to move up for that Colston Loveland pick. And there was one more that comes to mind. The Broncos in day 2 maybe targeting a tight end like a Mason Taylor and Arroyo, and there's another guy I'm forgetting. But then as soon as those guys go on, changing strategy. So at the end of it all, how are you feeling about these guys and the Broncos draft in general? We can go pick by pick. We can go more overarching
So I'd start big
draft
picture.
strategy and process. Please.
Yeah. So I would say this was the effiest draft that I can remember from the Broncos, where you kind of like, as each pick happens, there was a lot of didn't see
that's
that
fair.
one coming.
That's
because
fair.
you start with Jahdae Barron when everybody's thinking offense. You go RJ Harvey when there were a dozen different running backs who could have come off the board, and he wasn't any of our guy. I think for a lot of people they would have said this is the right guy, but to us it was like, oh, okay. Pat Bryant, nobody had that. Savion Jones, again, didn't have that one. To back-to-back edge rushers was a surprise. To the punter, which I guess you kind of knew they had the punter. But even that, we thought it was going to be the Bama punter, not the Florida punter.
You took a punter before you took a tight end.
Exactly. And then you cap off the draft with the tight end who, again, loved the pick. And maybe the one I came around on the quickest. As soon as I was reading the profile and was like, wait, these are all basketball numbers, and it clicked. That was the one where I was like, pretty immediately I liked it. So a few days later, I would say I really like the class as a whole. And I think there are a lot of good fits. I think there's a good blend of upside and maybe like immediate impact or like safe projection in the next couple of years at least. But at the time, pretty shocking.
Yeah, fair to say. And I'd say it's a pretty safe class.
Yeah.
Pretty
is.
like
It leans
high
safe.
floor.
Yep.
You addressed almost exclusively premium positions.
Yep.
And not really your needs in terms of tight ends. Maybe I think some people would have preferred running back higher. Some people even wide receiver higher
Yep.
too. So yeah.
There's some sliding doors here. Would have moving up for Colston Loveland made this class look better? Probably not, right? I mean, you just would have been shorter on picks. You wouldn't have the maneuverability to get up and go after Savion.
It just would have been such a different dynamic.
Yeah.
It really would have played out differently.
Yeah.
Because you'd still imagine running back is next. So if you had to trade that second
Yeah.
round pick, then you're taking
Yeah.
third round running back.
Right.
We know, or the reports are now that obviously they really liked RJ Harvey, but they weren't alone. So they would have liked to have gotten RJ in the third. With that third round pick, though, I wouldn't have been surprised if they trade up from there. So you trade first and second to move up for Loveland. You trade that third with maybe a future pick or one of your 6th rounders to move up to get this. So from there, you wind up probably don't get Savion Jones. You're probably taking maybe it's just Q Robinson you wind up with. You still have a pick probably for a punter and the tight end later. But the class would look a little different. And I think I like this version of it better than I would the trade up for Loveland version.
It'd look a lot different. I mean, honestly, do they address the secondary if Jahdae Barron isn't the first pick?
Potentially not.
So, and this is, I mean, he's a first-round draft pick. He was on top of their board when they were on the clock.
Yeah.
Like, they view him as a type of player that they couldn't ignore, that they couldn't pass on. It changes the whole dynamic of that. The fact that you took 2 edge rushers, I mean, take the punter out, right? You have 6 players in this draft class besides the punter, 7 in total, just so we're clear. I doubt it goes half and half like it did. 3 defense if you end up, trading up for Colston Loveland.
Yep.
Because
For sure.
I think you then have to put a premium on running back
Yep.
and make sure you get one and potentially trade up, like Henry said.
Yeah, I think they played it right. I think that if you wanted to nitpick, I mean, at first you could probably start with pick 20. Would they have been better off trading down than taking Jahdae Barron? And I think I'm happy with the decision they made.
Yeah, I just don't know that there was a market.
True.
I mean,
They might
the,
not even
the
have the
Vikings
option.
as early as 24 had to take Donovan Jackson, who maybe
Yeah.
was a smidge of a reach, and the Giants played it just right, trading up to 25 and not having to give up too much. And outside of that, there really weren't many trades on the back end of
Totally.
round 1,
And I think, say the trade does somehow pan out, and you go from 20 to 30 and you pick up another late second, something like that. So at 30, you probably take Travion Henderson. So you don't take RJ Harvey. Now you have 2 seconds to play with. Maybe you trade up and get one of those tight ends. Maybe that's where you get an Arroyo. That's where you get a Taylor. And then I don't know what you do at the second. Maybe that's a different receiver even.
The second, I think the biggest sliding doors is if Arroyo, who gets picked 1 pick before the
Yeah,
Broncos,
that probably is
available at 51, do they not trade down? Do they still get RJ Harvey at that pick in the 80s because now they haven't moved
Probably
up to
trade up,
76? Right, you probably trade up, so that means you're probably out of the you definitely don't get Pat Bryant, and you're not getting Savion Jones either.
Yep.
Is what would have Arroyo been that much of an ad to sacrifice those 2 players?
I don't think so. I think when we kind of go through all these different scenarios, and maybe we should just like put names to everything and take a day and see what these actually would have looked like and see the actual list of players you come out with. I like the way it came out, and there's a part of me that wonders if that's because I've spent so much time in the past week just going through tape of all these guys, and when you're going through the tape, it's a lot easier to fall in love. It's easy for me to say now, like I don't know if there is a big gap between RJ Harvey and Travion Henderson. In fact, I don't even know that Henderson should be in front of Harvey. But had I spent a 6-hour night digging into Travion Henderson tape and thinking about him, seeing him in this offense, would I feel differently? Like probably. But where I am now, I'd say this list of guys that the Broncos got, I like it better than the hypotheticals, trade up, trade down. I do wonder if they could have traded down one more time before getting RJ Harvey, but after 2 trade downs, I don't. Or maybe the move is you take somebody else with that second round pick and then trade up with the 3rd. But I think I really like what they did.
I like it. Let's get into a few more of these individual players, and then I cannot wait to do some more deep dives with you guys. But first, drive to the playoff giveaway. Let's drive into the playoffs with Toyota. Yep, there we go. With Toyota. Toyota, certainly our number 1 pick, someone we would trade up for instantly. Reliable, high floor, high ceiling too, because the upside is endless. SUVs, beautiful trucks, and of course all sorts of environmentally friendly. Look at that beautiful graphic. Drive to the playoffs, scan to enter to win the playoff ticket, sweet ticket giveaway, fly away a Toyota 4Runner. That is quite the offer right there. Link in your description. Don't miss out on the opportunity to be part of the Nuggets playoff frenzy. Drive to the playoffs with your Front Range Toyota stores, AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Inglewood, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, and Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR. Speaking of trucks and stuff, how about old Supercross?
Let's go.
Get the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship race in Empower Field at Mile High, or Mile High if you're old school like me. That's going down May 3rd. That's this weekend, people.
That
See the
is.
world's best riders like Chase Sexton, Cooper Webb, Hayden Deegan, and more. Experience it live. Witness the world's elite dirt bike riders battle for the coveted title of Supercross champion. These are awesome.
Yeah. I wish we could
Supercross
have
is
our
dope.
own. I want a dirt bike race, you guys. I think that could be a fun
I
episode.
can tell. I remember the world changed that summer where everyone could start doing backflips on the.
That's one of those like sports moments. I remember where I was
Yep.
when Travis Pastrana pulled off the double
Damn
backflip.
straight. So those are lit. Jeez.
Jeez.
I wish someone would have given me more of a heads up. I bring the kiddo to this.
I
This
know.
sounds
Kiddo would love
amazing.
this.
That was me with the monster
Yeah.
trucks last week.
Yeah.
At Monster Energy AMA Supercross, witness intense competition as the world's elite riders go head to head. Be part of the action at Empower Field at Mile High on May 3rd. Nothing compares to seeing it live. Yeah, I'm going to look into that. Link in the description, all sorts of fun stuff. Okay, guys, let's talk through these picks. You want to talk some Jahdae Barron and how you feel a week after the selection? Also, I'm going to pull the Zach Stevens and make a quick call.
All right, cool.
Okay. Well, I guess it's just me and you.
Sure.
What do you think? I think I've spoken plenty about him. So let's start with you.
Wait, Jahdae?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, my opinion hasn't changed too much. I like this guy a lot. 2 weeks ago when we did the cornerback or the defensive backs preview, I mean, the NFL is a cover game. The more guys that you can cover, the more chances you have to get to the quarterback, the more chances you have to get your defense off the field, and you can score points. It's just, it's pretty formulaic. Like we make this game very complicated sometimes, but if some other times it's just, can you just counter what the best teams in the NFL do?
Yeah.
Which is throw the football. Can you
Yep.
cover Patrick Mahomes' receivers so that you can cause enough chaos for your front to get there? Same with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, all these guys. The dude's just a flat-out defensive back. He can cover. And I think my biggest takeaway, and again, this is pretty unchanged from last week, but it's just adding strength to strength. And I think that's kind of what a lot of the good teams do, is they realize what they're good at, and they keep that. They make it an identity of their team.
Yeah.
I mean, what's more Denver Broncos than having a good secondary, especially after 2015?
Well, yeah.
So I absolutely love it.
And you throw in, like, they led the NFL in sacks easily. Like, nobody else was really close last year. So you take that, you build on the secondary, obviously, like, blitz-heavy system, and you feel like you're free to blitz even more, knowing that you've got Barron back there just because it's one more guy you can trust in coverage. Not that you don't trust Jaquan, just that, again, it's an upgrade there. And I think
Jaquan just couldn't be a cover corner, you know?
Yeah.
Certainly not at a Thorpe award-winning level.
Exactly.
And not with
all
the
multitude
versatility.
of coverages.
Yeah,
It's like
there's
you-
levels to it. Yeah,
You want to play him in a cover 3 on the inside? Sure. Go right ahead. You want to play a cover 2, cover 4, like any sort of zone coverage where he's lined up in the nickel, he's going to be great. But it's just the flexibility to say, we're blitzing and we want to go man behind it. There's some matchups you like that for Jaquan. There's others you don't. With Barron, there's simply more matchups you like. Now, what you need is for Barron to be as disruptive in the ground game and as a blitzer as McMillan was. I think Barron, all the tape suggests that he can do that, and there's good reason to think that that will be the case. But I don't want to shortchange what Jaquan did because he did produce a lot in the run game from that spot, which is a higher bar to clear. Well, I think you definitely improved your cover ability there and certainly your cover versatility. I'm not sure that you actually upgraded in terms of the run stop physicality. I think that I see that probably as more of a neutral, but we'll see.
but you have got
I would agree.
you got Talanoa Hufanga too. who
Also
kinda makes
true.
up
And
for it.
Dre
Dre Greenlaw
Greenlaw
and
Alex Singleton back.
Yeah.
I mean,
totally.
that back seven is definitely beefed up from what you had.
Yes.
Certainly at the end of last season against the run. First and second down, do you think he's going to be given real competition to be the second outside corner opposite Riley Moss?
I would be surprised. I think that
Like long term, maybe not week one.
long term, yes. Long term, I think you see opportunities. And I think, again, we hate injuries, but injuries are an important part of the ecosystem of an NFL team, you know, in a bunch of different ways. Remember, the Broncos have been so healthy the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, figuring out who you cut, who you have to move on from because you're bringing so many guys off of IR. Like, you just wind up in these roster pinches. You wind up with guys not really getting opportunities. So you get into situations where you say, Luke Wattenberg, we want you to be our starting center, but because our offensive line was so healthy, we've never actually really seen you play football. That one worked out. You wind up with some of those blind decisions. At some point, the point being, Riley Moss probably gets banged up, or Pat probably bangs up. At some point in the next couple of years, you miss a couple games.
Be forced into
and
action.
Barron gets that opportunity.
But I think you can play your
get to see.
matchups, right? Like, if you have a smaller, twitchier number one, like Xavier Worthy, maybe Barron is a better matchup than Riley is, you know?
Sure. Maybe.
And so you can pick and choose that a little bit. What I was really impressed by Barron in the rewatch, like, he has that complete, well-rounded cover profile that we've seen guys go really. Deontay Banks from Maryland a couple of years ago goes round one. Taron Arnold goes really high. Like, those guys who just check off every single freaking box in coverage, they go high, man. That's a coveted profile.
Absolutely.
And I wish I hadn't overlooked that aspect of Barron as I did going in. And then he's also got that, like, undersized outside corner ability, which is often kind of a prospect type that I tend to overlook or underrate. And then those guys seem to work out for the most part. Like, I was way low on Ronald Darby. Look, he hasn't been a phenom, but dude's had a nice long career and started plenty of NFL games at a premium position.
And if Barron turns out to be Ronald Darby on the boundary, but with all of the additional things he brings to the nickel, that's a good pick.
It's incredible.
That's a good pick.
I had some, and I think that's a really good comp, by the way. Darby a smidge taller, but like that was the knock, was like, it's always off coverage. Maybe he doesn't have some of the physicality. Barron does have the physicality, but he's undersized, so the physicality brings other questions. And then he also reminds me of some more classic cover outside corners who I've underrated in the past because of their size. Devon Witherspoon, I wasn't the highest on. He's panned out pretty nicely. Denzel Ward, we've talked about that comp with Barron. So I kind of think he blends those two profiles and then has some of that Brian Branch, Tyrone Matthew, like
playmaking
and weapon of all sorts. So he just doesn't lose on tape very much. And when he does lose, it's a calculated loss he was willing to give up.
And
that's so huge at the position, man.
And when he does lose, a lot of the time he gets lucky, which I think, like, we think back to like the play against Ohio State.
He's opportunistic and really smart. We talk about instincts and IQ a ton in the secondary.
And when you're lucky repeatedly, it makes you wonder if this is something that's actually kind of sustainable. But at the same time, I mean, that was a conversation about PJ Locke too. If you go back to the 2022 season, when he first gets a couple of opportunities because of injuries, and you go out there and say, oh, he forced that fumble that won him the game against the 49ers in the Hackett season. And there's that short list of plays that he made in that season in his short list of opportunities. So flash forward to the next year when Kareem Jackson gets hurt, you wind up saying, like, okay, PJ expand, and he continues to make those plays. Last year, you say we're going into the season as a full-time starter, and those plays dry up a little bit. You know, same thing with Jaquan. A similar path, and you give him the full-time job, and those plays just like, they're there, but they just aren't quite there at the same rate. So you wonder if that playmaking, how sustainable it is. Because like, interceptions require some sort of fluke. You know, either quarterback makes a bad decision, receiver makes a bad decision. Like,
ball.
Exactly. And so all sorts of these kinds of things, you wonder just, is this something where you say, oh, it's been 4 weeks and we just haven't really gotten anything flashy out of him. And I think that's the downside. If this pick doesn't go well, then that's the feeling that you have. It isn't, oh no, this guy's getting cooked. It's, I just haven't really thought his name all that much in the past few games. And is he really playing that impact kind of football, which is necessary if you're going to use a first round pick on a nickel?
Yeah, it's... The quantification of JB is going to be interesting.
It is.
How many winning plays is he making for you rather than how many losing plays is he limiting or not allowing?
Yeah. And eventually you hope that you just hit the outside corner stuff. And you say, like, oh, he's locked down boundary corner, which is obviously more valuable than just a good nickel. But assuming there's no outside corner, I agree. It's the quantifiability. It's again, we talked about Tyrann Mathieu. You know, there's 1 or 2 seasons in there where you're like, oh wait, is he not the same guy anymore? When really it's probably just a little bit fluky that those plays weren't happening because last year he's himself again, and it's not that he was playing poorly. It was just that like, oh, the ball just didn't bounce his way.
But this is why instincts and like natural ability, like cover ability, is so important, because you have that still to fall back on, and you're not just primarily hoping for on the ball production. You just have someone who can slide in and be solid. Even and as you said with injuries too, like that's an aspect I don't think we think about enough when it comes to these draft picks too, especially when it comes to versatility with these guys. Like and in the secondary, you know, triple especially, because you can play so many different positions in the secondary. And it almost isn't until an injury happens and you're forced into a role when you can truly find out what a guy can do.
I mean, that's what happened with Jaquan too. You know, there's a world in which there's no injury at the end of the 2023 season. And so Jaquan never sees the field. And so you never go into the next year saying like, oh, we want to see Jaquan as a starter. Like same thing, again, happened with PJ Locke. It happens across the roster. And part of that is healthy. You know, you need to be able to give these young guys opportunities for them to show that something is there. Otherwise, it's a 6th round pick who never saw the field, and there you go.
No, 100%. And I mean, what they have added in terms of depth, versatility, and options on the passing defense side of things in this draft is very intriguing. Because just having Barron as an extra piece back there is going to allow you to just have a variety of different looks on the back end, mix and match a lot more. And just create more of that pre and post snap confusion and kind of just guardedness of a quarterback and like, wait, what are they playing? Where is this guy being moved? You know? And yeah, it's an intriguing pick for sure.
Hank's going to be posting pictures this year, or like videos this year of all 22 going, look at this crazy pre to post snap movement that the Broncos are allowed to do now because they have a piece like Jahdae Barron.
You could just move guys around so much. Like if Pat's in the slot, there's no problem saying, Barron, you go outside against this matchup we chose for you. Like the menu for Vance is just so much longer now.
In zone coverage, the dude is just rangy.
Yes.
You know, like cover 2, everything's in front of him and he reacts and he's super quick coming downhill. Cover 3, where he's got to just cover that deep boundary. Like that pick against Colorado State is nuts.
Absolutely.
Like he goes from covering the sideline boundary to then just being a free safety and tracking back, and like it's insane.
I love that shot.
So
and that's the other thing is like he has a variety of outcomes. If outcome 1, if the S tier version of JB doesn't pan out, then there's an S tier version as a nickel corner. If that doesn't pan out, then we've got we've got a variety of other ways to utilize him. To where you can still get some value out of this pick. So again, I think we're always so predisposed to want the high upside, the big home run hit, and like, oh man, if they hit on this, he could be a Hall of Famer in 10 years.
Exactly.
When sometimes it's more like what you want is a high-end starter, a guy who's going to command $10 million plus a year in his annual salary by that second contract, and that's what Barron could be. We're going to take a quick break and then figure out how we can fly by these next couple topics because there's so much. But just like the Broncos' future is bright, so is ours. And shady rays, sunny, beautiful days like this. Colorado, 300 days of sun. I saw that Bianchi guy saying that was a legend. How dare
see that?
How dare he?
For real.
How dare he? It is true. And there's no better way to go about it than shady rays because you need those good lenses for this bright ass sun. There's just no way around it, guys. But you also, it's tough when you're a shades guy every single day. We lose them, we break them. These are durable. They're hard. You pick them up. They're not some crappy gas station shade. But then they're also nice and affordable. So if you lose a pair, it's okay. It's gonna be all right. And then they've got this amazing deal for us, exclusively for our listeners. They're giving you 35% off polarized sunglasses when you use our code DNVR. Great shades, fashionable, great price, and made of nice materials. Also, last I checked, their prices hadn't gone bananas, which is nice. You know,
It
some
is.
places
A lot of bananas
prices going a little bananas. Yep.
Yep.
So,
How are
and-
banana prices?
Banana prices are still.
Not great.
Wait.
Okay.
Oh, you would know better than me.
We would.
Yeah, this has been more like a 3 to 4 year trend.
Okay.
We're not at. What
Okay.
are we at a pound now?
You know, like almost 30 cents now. Almost.
Oh, wow.
That's not
so-
terrible.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible, no doubt. But not as good a deal as a Shady Rays.
No.
Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DNVR for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And Jake, I hand it to you. Fan Steak.
Yeah, shout out Fan Steak. If you're watching this show, if you're listening to this show, I'm assuming you like college football, maybe just a little bit.
You're
Right?
a
are.
legend.
And you probably have a favorite team, whether it's the Buffs, Rams, whoever it is.
Kentucky UDFA.
Kentucky UDFA. What's his
Who's
name?
the running
Buckeyes?
back? Yeah, Buckeye. Strez.
I think
Our
so,
guy
yes,
Strez.
yes.
I'm just bad with
It's
names. We
Strez.
love you, Strez, you know.
So no matter what team it is that is your favorite team in college football, sign up with our friends over at FanStake. Use the code DNVR. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to be allowed to directly invest into the future of your football team. What FanStake does is you can stake players, stake athletes, put money on them. If they come to your school, they are allowed to set up an NIL deal with FanStake to cash in. If they do not commit, though, that money just goes right back into your wallet. Put it on another
Dang.
player. So
I'm like half tempted to hop on and just give Arch some money.
He needs
Arch
it.
it up. you
out of
know?
all the people, you pick
He
Arch.
needs it.
Why not?
But right now, FanStake is currently offering new fans a free $25 credit, no credit card
Stress.
required or strings attached. We're encouraging everyone to stake, players like Omari Miller, Draylon Miller, Michael Welsh for the Buffs.
Oh, yeah.
Their own Omarion.
DJ McKinley?
Oh, yeah. DJ McKinney, sure. DJ McKinney also, by the way, we're talking draft. In Jordan Reed's mock draft was 24th overall.
That's right.
Really?
He's
Keep
an
getting
eye
some
out.
life,
Yep.
getting
Really?
mocked real high.
Click the link in our description, scan the QR code, or just head to fanstake.com. Use promo code DNVR to help keep your favorite players with your favorite team.
Oh, man. And there's Strez, legend Strez.
Right
There's
on time.
Cody. Cody always such a legend.
Shout out
Give us
Cody.
a
Yes.
thumbs up, as Cody
Legends
would
all over
say.
the place.
Lots of OGs in the Toyota
Very
chat.
well
You
said, yeah.
love to see it. God, I love you guys so much. You're the best for tuning in. Thank you so much. Okay, boys. Edge rushers or skill positions?
Let's go in order. Let's go skill positions.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know that I have a ton of new RJ Harvey thoughts.
Fair.
He's RB5. You were able to get him after trading down twice, which I think is really good value, regardless of where the consensus board is.
Yep.
Also, the consensus board means nothing. Just
absolutely
so
nothing.
we are clear.
It's just an idea of it.
yeah.
Coming into the draft, RB5 at pick 60, I think it was. We like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Especially with getting a little extra juice after moving down twice, you
Yep.
know? The concerns are valid, for sure. The age, the fumbling, the having more experience as a receiver. I also wonder, like, had he run a 4.39 instead of a 4.4 flat, which is a difference of, like, a hair.
I mean, it's literally like less than half a yard.
Yes. I wonder if he would have had totally different perception. And also in a different running back class. I mean, very Doug Martin-esque, you know, like this is a guy who in other drafts, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be that crazy for him to sneak in maybe late round one, but he doesn't. And so, yeah, Sean's calling his shot here, and there's plenty to like, but I also think the concerns are legitimate.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't really have anything too much to say, and I'm sorry to be pessimistic here. I'm worried about the fumbling because that's something that when it comes to running backs, that has to be one of the most important things, is having a reliable runner who just will not turn the ball over.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to mention his name. I don't want to bring it up, but living through the Melvin Gordon stuff was rough. And being a fan of an AFC West team, seeing him do that for the Chargers years before made me even more angry when it happened to the Broncos. So,
No doubt.
it's just something that has to be nipped in the bud. I mean, Dre, you mentioned it, and it does show up on tape. A lot of those are kind of like just trying for the extra yard when you don't necessarily have to, trying to shake the extra guy, just knowing when to go down. So it is something that can be fixed, but I don't know. It worries me a bit. It's why I'm worried about Audric, honestly.
Yep. I think, it's
skill players holding on to the ball. It's big.
It's
drops,
absolutely.
fumbles. Like, yeah, those are huge concerns.
that's maybe the most likely way. If this doesn't go well, that's probably the reason why. Because I think you look on tape and there's again, like the production, only a couple other guys in this draft class matched it. The efficiency, only one other guy in this draft class matched it, and that's Ashton Genty. Again, it's a Genty-like concern. It's that same thing where you break that many tackles, you somehow stay on your feet, you got that strong lower body, so that all that means that you take more hits. And as you've pointed out, the more hits you take, more likely you are to fumble. So I'd be curious to see not just like fumbles per rush attempt, but fumbles per rush attempt plus broken tackles, per contact, really. And I wonder if that is notably different than the others in this class. For those who don't know, it was 3 fumbles this year, it was 3 fumbles last year, and 3 fumbles the year before. 1 fumble the year before. So it is kind of a
7
pretty
in
consistent
3 years.
number. Yep. It's not ideal. And if you go through this season fumble free, you feel good. If it's an estimate-like start and you lose a couple early on, that could be the one thing that really throws this running backs room into a mess.
So do you have the Harvey stats pulled up right now?
Yeah.
How many touches did he have last year and the year before that?
232 plus 20. So 252 touches last year.
Okay.
226 plus 19. So 245 touches the year before.
Okay. So
6 fumbles in that time.
in 2023, then he touched the ball more than Ashton Genty and fumbled it fewer times.
There you go.
He touched it fewer times than Ashton Genty did this year, but had only 1 less fumble. So they are
comparable,
fairly similar. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of the profile.
Yeah.
And obviously, they could not care less about age. I think that's at least 2 drafts in a row. They have.
Yes.
It's like the evidence speaks clearly on that end.
Especially for a player who switched positions.
Yeah.
I think it'd be different if he had maybe less tread on his tires at this point, or if or you felt like he was taking a bunch of hits, whatever it may be, or he knew the position better.
The fumbling, I mean, I'm sure they were well aware of this.
Yeah,
of course.
Factor. So they're taking that gamble, and seems like a gamble worth taking. The opportunity he's being given, though, is tremendous. So I would be skeptical to go online and talk about what a terrible draft and RJ Harvey is going to be a bust, because everything to me sets up to where he might be looking real good by like week 4 of his rookie year.
I took 50 to 1 for him to be rookie of the year. It's down to 22 to 1.
The evidence suggests that this is a profile worth gambling on just because he's being put in such a nice position.
I love the pick. It's just he's not the perfect prospect.
Could not agree more. And it's RB5. You only come away with 1 running back in this class. We would have hoped for. But, I think the other theme I see across multiple years, aside from age being something they don't totally care about, is they really believe in the guys they've brought in.
Yeah.
They are not willing to just turn the page and take opportunities away from Estime and Troy Franklin and even Blake Watson or
Tyler Bidet.
Yeah, I think they're kind of setting up an ecosystem where they're not going to turn the page on those guys. They're going to keep believing and trying to develop and seeing what role they can really carve out.
And as we've talked about, running back is one of those easy spots to patch during the season. There's going to be some street free agent, whether it's the next Kareem Hunt or whoever's just kind of sitting out there. If you get to week 6 and say like, hey, we want to go a different direction, there's going to be practice squads filled with guys. Trade market, running backs are cheap. Breece Hall, for example, is going to be a free agent after this year. There have already been trade rumors. Could he be a trade deadline candidate if the Broncos don't like what they've gotten from the running backs? There will be a lot of options. Christian McCaffrey, that was a midseason trade. That'd be a big splash move. But if you say, hey, we're 6-2, we really like where we're going, but we just aren't getting what we need from the running backs, big splash move could be possible. So this isn't what I would have done, but the idea that RJ Harvey's one of the 2 backs in your rotation, he's your lead back, he's your 60% back, then you've got Jaleel, Audric, Bidet, Watson all competing for the second spot. Yeah, not what I would have done, but I see the vision. And they actually didn't sign any undrafted free agents. A couple camp invites,
Crazy.
no undrafted free agents.
Crazy
Yeah.
to
We had
me.
just assumed.
I assumed they wouldn't
Yeah.
just sign some, but they would be able to kind of be a hot commodity because it's like, yeah, come here and compete against 5 other young guys like you.
Totally.
And only
But they
one of them was
must-
drafted
yeah.
in the top 100.
They like their group, though. And I guess if...
Yeah, and I think they're
I
kind
like-
of believing in it.
I
and-
like all 4 of those guys, too. And if you don't want to throw a fifth to muddy the competition, I understand. And there's talk of Nick Chubb, but I think it's important to remember with Nick Chubb, in every metric, Javonte Williams was better than him last year.
Yeah, and
And,
he
if you
turned
didn't
30.
like Javonte,
Yeah.
again, like it's been 2 years where he's been pretty the injury. So
Also, every day that passes, that feels less and less and less.
I would
likely.
agree. I would agree.
Pat Bryant.
Yeah. Yeah.
If RJ Harvey is Ashton Genty light, Pat Bryant is Emeka Egbuka light, though he's actually taller. I mean, he's just bigger.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it's, yeah, how much does deep speed really matter?
Yep.
We're going to find out because everything else on that player's profile is very intriguing, checking off some really important boxes, but he doesn't have the super sexy trait, you know?
Yep.
but again, go if you haven't already, go watch him against against Rutgers. He wins over the top, and it's not like blazing, Tyreek Hill, Jamison Williams speed. It's fine. It's what it is.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Emeka Egbuka, he literally did everything. Like I'm telling you, lining up in the backfield, lining up tight, and all that. I don't know if we get that out of Pat Bryant, but in terms of the versatility, yes.
But I've seen him line up there and competitive, can really great hands, acrobatic catches, working the sidelines, really good on in-breaking routes, pretty polished route runner, really good at like in and out of his breaks. And yeah, deceptively kind of fast off the line of scrimmage, right? And that kind of is shown in the 10-yard split, which is significantly better than his 4.61 40-yard dash. And then, yeah, I mean, he had plenty of game-breaking big plays at Illinois.
3 game winners this year.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And some years for Illinois, 3 wins is a big year.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. And so for him to be the focal point of that offense, again, so I want to say 250 more yards from scrimmage than any other player on that team.
Yeah.
First time they hit double-digit wins since 2001. Like, he's the focal point on the best Illinois team in a very long time.
Yeah, the one from last year was really, I mean,
Yeah.
2 years ago was really good. The 23 team, you know.
But so you have all that going for you. And again, it's in the Big Ten.
Fifth in the Big Ten in receiving yards.
Second team All Big Ten. Emeka Egbuka, 3rd. So you're just talking pure production, like as crazy as it sounds for him to be a 3rd-round pick, because a lot of people didn't like the draft profile on the NFL website has him as a round 6 pick. And there's a lot of people who thought that's where he'd fall, mostly because of the 40 time. This is the spot where you see those productive guys go when they lose traits, with the best example being Cooper Kupp. Again, he's Triple Crown winner in FCS Heisman. That's pretty comparable probably to second team All Big Ten, realistically. Talking 6'2", 6'2", 204, 204, 31.5-inch arms, 31 and an eighth, 9.5-inch hands, 9.5, 4.62 40 for Kupp, 4.61 for Pat. The 1.55 10-yard split for Kupp, 1.56 for Pat. Like athletically, body type wise, this is kind of the comparison. And you saw same thing with Cooper, where he just wins off of craftiness and savviness and route running and polish. And as much fun as it is to say, hey, this guy ran a 4.41 and he has these traits and there's flashes of production in college, we can turn him into this guy who can be really productive. Pat Bryant, you say, he knows how to play wide receiver. And we think he plays it well enough that he can play NFL wide receiver. And when you have that piece down, the door is open for you to be a very productive player in the NFL.
Yep.
You just really need to maximize all those sorts of things.
I mean, honestly, it's very Jahdae Barron.
Totally.
Very Jahdae Barron. Also, I didn't realize Paul's guy, Travis Thies from South Dakota, he used a minicamp invite for the Broncos.
Let's go.
So there's your undrafted running back.
Okay.
FCS stud.
Yeah.
Travis Thies.
Yeah.
He's fun.
He is fun.
Also, Land Larison, you saw? Patriots.
I did see Patriots.
A couple buffs got Broncos rookie minicamp invites too.
Who'd they get?
Justin Mayers and Shane Cokes.
Cokes may have something there. Mayers has some stuff to clean up. Yep, Bryant's a really intriguing pick.
And they've shuffled around these running backs in the offseason before. I mean, especially 2 years ago when they had Emmanuel Wilson, who's now a part of the Packers running back rotation, was getting like significant touches there. They had him on the roster instead of Jaleel. And so they decided after minicamp, we're making that switch. We're going with Jaleel instead, and that worked out as well. But it's we'll see. We'll see what this room looks like in training camp. There's a part of me that thinks that they just really like how it's built now. There's also part of me that thinks if you wanted to throw 5 guys in a competition for one other spot, that's a lot. That is a lot. That would be a lot.
I love that they found a Lil Jordan replacement and some competition with Vele, but it's a pick that makes me feel good about upgrading and creating competition. But also, I kind of feel better about Troy Franklin coming out of the draft than I did coming into the draft. And I'm still a huge Troy Franklin believer. I was huge on him coming into that draft. So yeah, I'm just excited that it feels like they're adding and not necessarily taking away or hurting any of the existing guys.
Yeah. You get 50% of the snaps last year were played by Lil Jordan Humphrey. Those are open. I think it was like 16%, something like that for Josh Reynolds. Those are open too. Yeah. So there's snaps to be divvied out, whether that's expanded roles for Marvin or Devon or whether it's a role for Pat. That's going to be a good competition. And knowing Sean, you're going to be seeing all those guys early in the season. And he'll figure out what he likes later on.
It's a very interesting wide receiver room, honestly.
It is.
If it wasn't the Broncos, I'd probably be saying a lot of things about it, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike Clay from ESPN puts out all of his projections, just update him with the draft. He says Broncos have the second worst receiver room in the NFL and the worst running backs room in the NFL. And
yeah, on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last year they had the worst quarterback room coming into the season.
Sure.
Like, yeah, no.
Yep.
I mean, that's what it is to build kind of a slow build like that. Edge rushers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Q Robinson is almost where I'd start. Dude can move around everywhere. Needs to be developed as a pass rusher, though he's got the length, he's got some strength, and he's got the bend, which you really like. But the way he moves in space, his motor, his pursuit, even his cover ability, the fact that he's a former safety, it all shines, and you almost wonder, is this a super duper tall off-ball linebacker prospect? Also, they added 3 guys who I think will be massive assets as potential kick blockers on special teams. Yeah. Between Savion Q and then the Utah tight end.
Yeah. I think with Q, I think the idea is him as a 3-4 weak side linebacker. Get him in situations where he has a little bit of space to work.
Yep.
And maybe that's attacking downhill, but a lot of the time that might be floating out and playing those underneath zones and coverage. It might be man assignments against running backs, or you even hope that a tight end could work, although, well, matchup-wise, that might be interesting to see from that spot. It's the versatility there. And I'm not sure whether you go into this pick saying, like, we are intrigued by the long-term versatility, the idea that he could do all these different things, or that we like the odds of him figuring one of them out. Like, we see him, maybe he turns out to be a good maybe he turns out to be a good cover option from there. Maybe he turns out to be a good pass rusher from there. So I'm not sure if it's the idea that all of these things will turn it out to be NFL level, or whether it's we think we're going to hit on one of them.
Yeah.
Combination of them all, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Vance loves to kind of mess around with those edge rushers, right?
He does.
Throw them into coverage, do some funky stuff with them. So I think even with what you said there, I think you can figure that out with him kind of just playing edge too.
He likes to keep you guessing at all times.
Yeah.
And he has more options on the front 7 and more options in the back 7 to do that.
Yes.
And for a defense that was already pretty unpredictable and really put quarterbacks in tough spots often last year, I think that's only going to increase, and that's a blessing for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think the first spot for him is that, like, So your 3-4 defense right now, you got Cooper on the strong side, Benito on the weak side.
Yeah.
You have a rotation. Those are probably snaps you probably want Benito resting if you had to choose some. And you throw a guy like Q in there because of he might have the best cover ability immediately of any of their edge rushers.
Yeah.
And if there's enough as a run defender, then that might be where his first snaps come, or in those situations.
Yeah, I think so. But I think he also has the length to kind of be your replacement for Cooper and maybe be a real competition for Dondre Tillman.
Yeah. I would say you might need to develop a little bit more before he's really ready.
I do too.
Like, because at 240 pounds, maybe.
Down the road, maybe there's enough in the frame for him to be a JFM replacement, you know?
You look at the body type and it does look like there's room for more.
Yep.
I don't know exactly how much more, but I mean,
How young is he?
that's a good question. Savion Jones, though.
Savion Jones is truly your J. And, you know, we talked a decent amount about the bigger edges and how I thought the need was different for bigger edges versus small edges, which you already are pretty good with Benito and Ellis. We just mostly just talked about the top guys. We didn't get down to that next tier of like developmental gems. And both Savion and Q are really nice gambles at those spots for those profiles, you know?
The size thing, though, how much more can Q put on? Well, Savion put on at least 40 pounds when he was at LSU. And so I think it's easy to say, like, oh, here he is this 280 pounder, 280 plus pounder. I wonder if they're interested in putting more on, you know? I think that there's a chance that they're still kind of going that route.
I think so too.
With Q, do you put more on? Are you happy with like that blend of speed, that versatility? These are the decisions that you make that kind of define a career. Like you go back to DeMarcus Walker when he was drafted, the decision to put the weight on him, it just didn't really work. And if you had decided, let's not put the weight on, it worked for somebody else. It just didn't work for your role in your defense. Right. Would a different route made sense? But when you're messing with things like a player's weight and body, those are things that really do change trajectory. Like it changes injury risk.
Yeah.
It changes like play style. It changes what you're used to, so that if you want to take that weight back off, it can be kind of tough to go the other way. Does the speed come back? These are big decisions that have to be made right away with these guys.
Yeah.
Savion Jones is 21, though.
Yeah.
I think you've got more room to kind of play around with that and figure out exactly where, whereas Q Robinson is 23. I mean, it's 2 years. Guys in their young 20s.
Has barely played any snaps.
Exactly.
So Q's real developmental upside is there. That he's hasn't played a ton, you know, came in as a safety. So, like, the development, there's still plenty to develop physically and just technique and into this position. Any added Caleb Lohner takes?
I mean, I just like the pick just from a physical, tangible standpoint.
That clip against Colorado is insane.
Yeah, that's against DJ McKinney, too.
Big corner.
Yeah.
And so I think the interesting, again, who we'd mentioned before, projected first-round pick next year, the cornerback. When you watch, so typically against a guy like that, you would think you don't want to give him the top, or he's just going to jump right over, you know, because that arc of the ball, as soon as he's in that position, it's tough to stop. So he does what I think is probably the smart thing, play on top of him. And with that basketball background, you spread those arms out, angle him a bit. Guy's not getting by you.
Yeah.
Drill the ball into his chest, bang, touchdown. The fact that you can front a cornerback and make this play here, or you can get behind him and just go over the top, that makes it really tough for defenses. And you wonder if you start to see red zone double teams pretty quickly. I wouldn't be...
It's a really fun addition.
It really is.
It's a really fun
and
addition.
you can totally see the vision with the Jimmy Graham and all that stuff, too.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And, I mean, pretty athletic dude.
Yes.
Like, maybe
Smooth.
40 yards,
Surprisingly
doesn't
smooth.
move, but, like,
Sure.
even on the basketball court, like, this guy can run. This guy's
Jumps,
an athlete.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't add, like... It's not like a Chiefs draft where you're adding big play merchants in a more conventional way. But you're adding a blazing fast running back who has as good home run hitting ability as anyone in this class. You have a wide receiver who, like, his yards per carry and the big plays he made on tape are as good as any's. And then you have the ultimate red zone weapon in this tight end. So you have brought in 3 guys who have some real big play ability, even though it's not 3 guys who all run like 4 threes, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, It's just an intriguing process. I never love drafting a punter. I like how late they did it. Pick 216. I'm not going to complain about it too much. It's just really 32 best adult punters in the entire globe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude's kind of new at the position, you
Sure.
know?
I don't know if that's how. I mean, we're getting into punter talk here, but
Hey, we got 3 minutes.
I would look at it as if he just makes the practice squad anyways, you're probably getting more value than most teams are out of their 6th-round pick.
Yeah. No, totally. For sure.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree on that end completely.
I'd be curious. I'm not going to be able to check quickly enough, but what
So
the cut rate is for a punter being a rookie in terms of like drafted punter being.
You're usually
a rookie.
holding on to that guy.
Yeah, it looks like at least in the past 2 drafts, there have been 4 punters drafted, and all 3 of them made the team. Some got cut pretty quickly thereafter, but all made the team. So Broncos didn't want to go this route either because they were in on punters.
Sure.
They wanted to give the contract to Brian Anger, but they hit Andre Greenlaw. They got Tanu Funga. They got Evan Ingram. All the guys they wanted. They did lose in their attempts to go get a punter. They were the team that was left out, and this is what you're stuck doing when that's the case.
There were a lot of classes that were kind of like the Broncos. There's stuff I like. There's stuff I question a little bit, but a little all over. But, you know, as we were saying during the draft broadcast, how I've really tried to interpret the draft is not me grading professional front offices and scouting departments and analytical departments and how they came to their conclusions. I'm trying to shift my mindset in we all had certain ideas coming in. The NFL is telling us what they thought. So I'm letting them grade my draft evaluations and see where I land on all this. Because there's a lot of draft classes I can nitpick, but I see the method to the madness. And what I'm really also trying to look at is who do I like from a 2-year perspective? Who's like 2 and 3 year approach makes sense. And I kind of didn't like last year's draft much, but now with this draft, it all makes a lot more sense. It's all kind of feeding into itself much better. We're going to go to overtime. Go to DNVR.com if you are watching us on a smart TV. Check us out on smart TVs, but DNVR.com to catch us on the other side as we finish up these beautiful discussions. Alyssa, can we go another 10 minutes? So yeah, I think I'm intrigued by the Broncos draft and could see this going well. We don't have as much time as we had planned, boys. I mean, because we've talked for an hour about just the Broncos 6 picks.
We could go for another hour, really.
I know. Sadly, we have a call in 30 minutes, so we couldn't even go that long.
I remembered.
We can each give one of our favorite draft classes and our one favorite pick, though.
Interesting.
Or we could go least favorite. It's like the one you really want to get off your chest.
Okay.
In fact, I might do my least favorites.
Then kick us off.
Okay. I'll go least favorite. Pick-wise, it's the Atlanta combo. And I... Yeah, no,
really?
I know. They're good players. James Pierce Jr. I mean, dude's got length for days and ran a 4.4. And Jalen Walker, like everyone loved Jalen Walker, thought he was going top 10 and slips to 15, so everyone thinks it's a great pick. I hate Atlanta's 2-year process. Hate it. Kirk Cousins, who, by the way, that massive contract still on their books, they're not going to be able to trade him. We'll see how that goes down, but that's a disaster right there. Penix, good for them. They've got Penix, and everyone's optimistic, and they've built a good offense around him, at least at the skill positions. Remember when they passed on Brendan Fisk last year and took the Clemson defensive tackle?
Yeah.
And they have Arnold Ebiketie, and now they just added 2 more undersized edge rushers. Sounds like Jalen Walker will play on the edge.
Okay.
He's another of these hybrid linebacker edge guys. And look, Josh Allen worked out. Anthony Barr worked out. Von Miller, Khalil Mack, those were good guys. He is smaller than any one of those guys. All those guys had 33+ inch arms and were bigger than 6'2". He is under both those metrics. Did not test, which to me is a massive red flag. I don't think he would have tested as well as the tape is. The production's not elite. He wasn't even a full-time starter last year. And then James Pierce, you gave up a future first. How much do you believe in Penix in his first year as a starter?
Yeah. When
so much of your cap is tied up in your rookie backup quarterback that you're sacrificing a future first for James Pierce Jr.? And also, what are you doing? You have 3 undersized edge rushers? Where's your Jonathan Cooper to complement your Nick Benito? This has been Atlanta my whole life, man. Just an undersized finesse defense. They get bullied. They're like playing flag football around there. And once again, and like on paper, we can all praise them. Like, oh, you got 2 guys we all liked and had on mocks. But you dig in on the trade and the fits, and none of it makes sense, man. They're kind of like lost at sea without a paddle, and I'd say the same about Cincy. It's like if you just look at board value, Mary, you're like, oh, okay. Then you really dig in, and you're like, man, this is a professional organization. They're drafting like I would have drafted.
They draft like great value.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
But there's no plan, and there's no plan year after year.
Yep.
Grady Jarrett was cut. Like, I think that defense is going to be worse. Justin Simmons was your big free agent sign. You drafted 2 safeties who are basically both deep. Like, what is the plan? What are we constructing here? Or is the plan just like throwing darts and hoping enough stick to where you look smart?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
That was.
I'm going to go to New
Thanks,
Orleans.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were shocked by their draft, huh?
That was crazy.
I can't get enough of that, huh? That's good wordplay.
Oh boy.
I mean, I don't know. You got some guys I like Kelvin Banks and the fact that he's a left tackle, like a true left tackle. I'm not gonna hate on that one too much. After that, though, I really don't know what's going on here.
Yep.
Like at all. Starting with Tyler Shuck, just taking a quarterback who has played 1 healthy year of football in 7 years at 40th overall.
That alone should be enough of a red flag.
That's extremely irresponsible for a team that is desperate for answers at quarterback. Right now, today, Derek Carr is in danger of missing the season. That is crazy to me, man.
And I kind of feel like it's Kellen Moore being like, hey, when I was at the Cowboys, we drafted Dak in the 3rd, and then at the Eagles, they drafted Hurts in the 2nd. Like, we'll make it work. Draft a day 2 QB again for me, guys. And it's like,
We'll see.
I like Devin Neal, but I think that's about all I can say about this draft class before.
Sanker, Danny Studsman, what they did there, end of the 3rd, early 4th, I thought was decent. But yeah, even Vernon Broughton, early 3rd for that defensive tackle, I thought, you know?
But like, I mean, I don't know.
Also, the NFC South, everyone outside of Carolina kind of dropped a huge deuce in this draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Carolina, I thought, did a great job. But Sigmund, New Orleans has invested in these positions too, though. Like safety, they've got Tyrann Mathieu. They've got Justin Reed. At linebacker, you got Demario Davis. You got Pete Warner. You got guys there. And what is the identity of this team? What is as you said, what is the 2-year outlook? Shoot, what is the 2-month outlook? What is this team going to look like going into camp? I don't think anyone really knows.
Yeah. All I like about New Orleans is back-to-back years, they drafted big mauling offensive tackles. Fuaga last year, Kevin Banks this year. I'm kind of in on that. And I'm kind of in on that for Kellen Moore's offense.
But then it's like,
Alvin
Kamara is getting up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
I'm curious about Seattle's draft.
It's an interesting one.
I think there's a chance that you look at this 5 years from now and you're like, oh my goodness, that was the draft class that turned him around. There's also a chance that it's just packed with busts. Like Gray Zabel, if he hits, then one of the best interior offensive linemen in college football. Taking the FCS interior lineman in the 1st round is definitely a choice, though.
Who's probably just a center.
And I was just watching.
Like, is there a value?
No.
Like, everyone's talking about Ashton Genty is the 13th highest paid running back. I wonder where Gray Zabel falls on the highest paid centers list. I'm going to look that up.
And watch Savion Jones against him at the Senior Bowl and tell me if you still like Gray Zabel in the 1st round. Nick Emenwari, like he's one of those guys who could really hit, could also just be like your workout warrior who Who knows? Again, the pick
Yeah, he's
35,
he's
sure.
a cover 2 safety.
Yeah.
Like,
Well-
is that... Like, I swear you could have found that in the 5th round. You had to maximize that, trade up in the
Yeah.
to the early 2nd for that.
And maybe all the versatility helps, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Elijah Arroyo up next in the 2nd round. Player we like. But again, hasn't played much college football. Comes from the chaos offense. You like the traits? Sure, go ahead. Jalen Milroe after that.
Yep.
Like, who knows? Maybe Jalen Milroe is the Jalen Hurts or the Dak Prescott of this. But, I mean, again, it's 3rd round pick on a quarterback. Torrey Horton, Robbie Outs, or however we decide to say his name. Damian Martinez in the 7th. You
Oh,
wonder
my
if
guy
he sees
Bobby
the field.
Otis?
Yeah, your guy Bobby Otis. It's not that I think it's a bad class or a great class, but it's one of those where I think maybe if you're looking at the consensus board, you're like, wow, this is a
Yeah.
great draft.
Right.
But also you look at every one of these players and say, sure, there's the upside, but also what if you just miss on all of these?
This draft class feels to me like they looked at the 2012 team, 2013,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And they go, how do we get back to there as
Yeah.
fast as possible?
Yep.
That's what it looks like to me,
100%,
especially
man.
with the Emin Wari picks and the Jalen Milroe picks.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, it's a like, ooh, you can get your your fans excited about this one. Might be a smidge fool's gold, though.
Exactly.
And like particularly those two guys, Emin Wari, Milroe, that combo gets Seattle fans more hyped than probably any other fan base.
exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
100%.
But if either of those guys don't really pan out, I'm not going to be shocked.
Sure, yeah.
Zabel would be the 20th highest paid center
Okay.
if he sticks at center.
So not too bad.
It's not terrible. It's also not great.
Yeah. I also sneaky like the Raiders class.
I kind of do too,
Dude,
bro.
the AFC West
Yeah.
killed it
Yeah,
value-wise.
they
Yep.
cooked.
Killed it.
Then I get Ashton Genty. Is this a team that's a running back away? No, typically those aren't the teams that should be doing this.
Definitely not.
But with Pete Carroll being where he is in his
And
career,
Geno Smith.
totally like
You're kind of maximizing a small window right now.
you
Right.
are. But sometimes that might be what's needed just to like set the table for whatever's next.
Sure.
And if your idea is like, hey, let's no longer be the 4-win Raiders. Let's see if we can go be the 7-win Raiders and at least kind of feel like we're within a couple of moves
Gotta
of getting
take
there.
some steps.
You at least need to be functional enough to see which players are good and which are bad, what's working and what's not. Because if you aren't at least to this all of a sudden everybody.
100, but at least you're going after decent upside bets.
And then the late Tommy Millott, I think that's a good pick. Like it's for a 6th-round pick, a quarterback freak who you convert to receiver, see if he can be a slot guy, gadget guy. Hey, it's a good pick. Cam Miller, a couple picks later. You need a quarterback long term. That's a nice way to take a flyer, I think, to see if maybe you get lucky and grab one of those guys. So I think while the Ashton Genty, like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't the time to be doing that. I think they really balance it out with the other stuff. And you look at the other things they're doing, and maybe this is their path to take a step so that they can then build from there.
Yep. I think the Raiders you could include in this, but like New England, Denver, Washington, Carolina have had really nice 2-year processes. We look at last year's draft and how they built off that in this year, and it looks good. And then there are teams like Tennessee also. I'm like, what are these guys doing?
It's
like,
crazy, bro.
Tennessee's draft, like Atlanta's from last year, looks awful when you
Yes.
consider what they then followed it up with.
You had the
It's just
first pick.
bad process, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you got to come away with more if you're Tennessee. I'll throw San Francisco into a team that I like, though. To me, this is an identity draft.
Dude, I had them on my
They
identity
did the
draft
thing,
list. Yes.
I mean, they took a quarterback in the 7th round. They played all the hits last weekend. They just drafted front 7, drafted some long, athletic corners, drafted some boomer bust type guys at wide receiver, and
Run
then you take
defense.
a 7th
Yep.
round quarterback.
100%.
Junior Bergen, my guy from Montana.
I thought
Only,
San Francisco, Detroit, Miami really addressed identity drafts that maybe aren't how I would have drafted, but I certainly see the logic. And also, Detroit, it's hilarious. Every 3rd round, they don't have a 3rd rounder. They move into the early 3rd and trade next year's 3rd.
Huh.
It's their infinite money glitch.
Wow.
It's like, oh, well, we got a 3rd next year. Let's just move that up to this year,
That's a very Sean Payton
And
strategy.
they took Isaac Tesla, so
Yep.
not the worst. Not the best, though. Not the best.
By the way, one of the best draft calls of the weekend was the Isaac Tesla Detroit Lions one.
Really?
because I guess his family's from there. So he's like on the phone, and like obviously they know he's talking to an NFL team, and he reveals it by going, like, "Thank you, Mrs. Ford. Can't wait to see you too." And they lose it.
Wow, that is awesome. Okay,
I think Eagles getting Jihad Campbell and Smail Mondin, very on brand for them as well.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Eagles, pretty good draft. Solid from the Ravens.
A
though
pair
maybe
of
not
SEC
their usual.
linebackers.
Yeah.
That's
Shout out to the Panthers too.
Yeah, I loved their process. Loved,
okay.
loved. We got to get going. Thank you so much
that's
for
right.
joining
Yep.
us in overtime. Thank you so much to Alyssa Marie for producing, to the Schwan man, Big Hank. Go Abs. Go Nuggets. Hank says this could be an RJ Harvey shirt. Check it
Could
out.
be.
Tell me your thoughts. Thank you so much. Leave us a like on the way out. Till next week. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.